Buffs Nation, welcome to the first ever Common Sense Buffs live stream. I am your host. This is my very first one, so we're going to give a minute for the notifications to go out, get people in the room before we officially get started. If you're watching this on a replay, go ahead and put in the comments, replay gang. Let's get the engagement up and let's get this content out to the Buffs Nation. I wanted to make sure I started on time. So while I'm waiting for the notifications to go out, I am going to get everything set up in the back end. But today, we got a couple of topics on the docket. We're going to talk about Coach Prime's $250,000 bonus. We're going to talk about Pat Shurmur's run game. And of course, we're going to talk about Dallan Hayden's breakout season potential for 2024. Before I get started, big shout out to my mentor in this YouTube game. In the Colorado's content creator community. My guy, the channel is TLP Sports Club, and my guy, Harry B. Big shout out to Harry B and all the bandwagon buffs. Those represent the folks I first got on YouTube with to comment about what was happening with Colorado Buffaloes football, and also some of the first some of the first subscribers I had on the channel. In addition to that, my guy Dino up the skull over there with his community and all the love that they've been showing me, and that has resulted in some subscribers as well. So at least for the first one, I don't intend to bring any guests up, but the chat is really going to help me with this content. So feel free as I drop these questions and topics to jump in here in the chat and share your comments. And questions that you might have for me, because I'm going to have some ideas about some things that we want to get done. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue my setup here while more and more people join. I'll go ahead and put the first question that we're going to be talking about. So let's go ahead and show. All right, perfect. Let's go ahead and hide that. So we'll highlight as people jump on here. So first things first, man, what I want to bring up and talk about. Let's see if we can go ahead and present. Let's go ahead and share this screen. And all right, first things first is this news article here that I want to talk about. And I'm going to just go ahead and read from it directly, but this is what's in the news right now, so I want to go ahead and start with that. Deion Sanders collected substantial discretionary bonus last year per USA Today. It's so interesting that it happened last year, but it's coming out today. I don't know if the news broke, like somebody found out the information and broke the news, or this is a press release via Colorado football or Deion Sanders' press team. But we're going to jump right in and read this. This is courtesy of Yahoo Sports. The writer here is Jack Carlo. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. But it says here, fresh off his first season leading the Colorado Buffaloes program, head coach Deion Sanders received a substantial discretionary bonus late last year, according to public records obtained by USA Today Sports. All right, so it wasn't released via press release. This was according to public records. I guess maybe these football programs need to file public records whenever they're paying a bonus to one of their coaches, because I think CU is a public university. So I'm guessing public universities are going to have that kind of disclosure requirement. So it says the report revealed Coach Prime collected $250,000 in appreciation of the national recognition. They have that in quotes. He brought, so I'm guessing they're pulling that specifically from the public records release, from the national recognition he brought to CU last season. Sanders' guaranteed salary for the first season at Colorado was $5.5 million. I'm interested to see how that compares to other coaches at Power 4 programs. Maybe we'll start with looking at that during the next show, looking at coaches in the Big 12 and what they earn in terms of guarantees. And this is a direct quote here. It says the employee recognition bonus is a discretionary bonus awarded by athletic director Rick George for the immense impact Coach Prime has made on the football program, the athletic department, and the university in his first season. the university said in a statement this week to USA Today Sports. So Rick George is confirming this, and that it was awarded because of the immense impact that Coach Prime has made on the football program. So that's tremendous. In year one, he's already earning a bonus. And this is kind of a side note to all of us who are followers of Coach Prime and Colorado football. Coach Prime all the time talks about excellence, right? And seizing the opportunity. I'm in a new role, and for the first time, I'm really understanding that companies have a lot of discretion when it comes to compensation. What they pay you or what the structured bonus is not all there is to be earned within a company. There is such a thing as a discretionary bonus. A lot of people out there who work in sales may have experienced this, or if you haven't already, this is something to keep on your radar. And one of the things I think all of us Bucs fans have to be mindful of is that we have to strive for excellence. And it's possible, if you strive for excellence, that you'll be rewarded in such a way, right, that it's going to be something that isn't necessarily written into your employer contract, because companies do have that discretion. So I'm going to keep reading on that. And that's just note to self, guys. Go for the highest that you can. It's not just about following Colorado Buffaloes football, but by following Prime and by following Colorado is about elevating yourself in the work that you do and striving for greatness. So it says here, as I continue, USA Today Sports reported that former CU Buffalo Chancellor Phil DeStefano authorized the bonus pay form on December 1st. So this is right after the season ended, I believe. So the check was already in the mail. They had already made the decision. He just signed that form on December the 1st. It says Coach Prime's 5-year contract has several other built-in incentive-based bonuses, including $150,000 for winning 6 games. So, hey, that we could talk about that tonight too. Do we think Colorado is going to win 6 games in 2024 and earn Prime that bonus? $200,000 for getting invited to the New Year's 6 bowl game. I'm not quite sure what that is. Maybe you guys can update me in the chat or in the comments. And $750,000 for winning a national championship. So these are great incentives to win. I don't necessarily think Prime is going to be moved by the dollar amounts per se, but it's always great in your contracts to have bonuses if you achieve certain goals, if you hit certain milestones that are important to your company, or in this case to the Colorado football program. So Colorado finished 4-8 in Sanders' first season. So big shout out. It looks like Buffalo's Wire. Go ahead and follow them. This content is fair use, being used for analysis and news. So that was the first thing that I wanted to touch on. So I don't see any comments here right now. So if you guys have any questions, any comments, you can go ahead and hit me with that. Very, very interested to hear your thoughts and opinions on the news that Coach Prime was awarded this bonus for 2023. I'm sure there are many bonuses loading for 2024. All right, I'm going to keep going here, and I'm going to share my screen and talk about our second topic of the night, which is Pat Shurmur's offense. Now, my thought is, in order to win the Big 12 or be competitive in the Big 12, Colorado has to run the football. It seems like in today's spread-heavy offenses, like you have to pass the ball to win. Yeah, of course, you need to have diversity in your offense, and that's why the quarterback position is ever more important in football nowadays. But equally important is the run game. One of the biggest complaints I heard about Colorado football last year was that we couldn't run the ball. We had talented running backs. For example, Dylan Edwards, who left the program, transferred to Kansas State. Alton McCaskill, who was injured. He redshirted last year, but a lot of people had high hopes for him that he would come over from Houston and be a back that could have an impact. So he redshirted. A lot of Buff fans were looking forward to seeing him in the fall. He also transferred out. I believe he went out to Arizona State, and there was some uncertainty in that running back room. But the question is Colorado truly committed to the run this year? Are we going to see them run the ball? Now, last year, a couple of things came up. I know there were press conferences where Prime was asked, hey, why don't you run the ball more? And he said, we're not going to do things just to do them. he understood, or at least, this was the opinion that he expressed in the public and to the press, was that we're not just going to run the ball and lose 2 yards. We're going to put the ball in the hand of our most capable player and have that player make plays. And on the offensive side of the ball, that was Shedeur Sanders. But if you're not running the ball, you're not forcing the defensive line and the linebackers and the opposing defensive coordinator to play with respect. They can pin their ears back and just come after you. One of the games where this was most evident was in the UCLA game, where they got after the quarterback. They were sending the entire house because they knew there was no potential for them to run the ball. The second thing was confidence in the offensive line. And offensive line issues were evident all year. One of the games, the offensive line played their better games was TCU right out of the gate. And that's when I started following Colorado football, is when, I didn't watch the game. I watched the highlights of the game. And I was like, you know what? There's something special happening in the Coach Prime era at Colorado. I thought the offensive coordinator at the time, why is this man's name slipping my mind? It's going to come to me. He utilized the run a lot better. So in his backfield, he had Hankerson, he had Edwards, and he had Wilkerson, and he played all of them in that game. There were a couple of big runs there in the first, not big runs, but effective runs in the first half of the game that really kept TCU having to play with discipline. And in order to win the Big 12, we have to force defenses to play with discipline, and we're going to be able to accomplish that with a run game. So there are a couple of things that I think are different this year. Number one, Sean Lewis, the offensive coordinator, who after about 6 or 7 games was, I don't want to use the word demoted, but he was switched out. Pat Shurmur was made the offensive coordinator and finished out the season. And I think it's Bill O'Boyle was the offensive line coach. I know he had struggles. And one of the things that Prime said is, he's used to working with pros. So we're going to look at Shurmur's offense. And does that give us confidence that Colorado is going to do a better job of running the football? And then we're also going to look at the offensive line and the changes that were made there in the offensive line coach in Phil Lodeholt. All right. So first, we're going to talk about Pat Shurmur's offense. All right. So I'm going to share my screen again. And this article, again, is from Yahoo Sports, and the writer is Tony Casolo. So big shout out to Yahoo Sports, Tony Casolo, fair use here on this article for news and analysis. So it says what Colorado's offense could look like under Pat Shurmur. So it says Colorado football head coach Deion Sanders announced numerous changes to his coaching staff on Friday. When is this article dated for? It came out in February. And Pat Shurmur officially being named offensive coordinator was no surprise after what happened with Sean Lewis at the end of the season last year. It said Shurmur has moved around quite a bit in his coaching career, spending time with several NFL teams, including the Denver Broncos. So he has that Denver Boulder connection already. So what can this NFL mind bring to Boulder? Again, Coach Prime's focus on NFL coaches and players serving as coaches on his coaching staff. It says mid-season coaching changes are always hard to grade because wholesale change can't be made. So he had to integrate some of the things that his team was already familiar and comfortable with under the Sean Lewis offensive scheme, but try to scheme and introduce some things that he knew players could pick up on fairly quickly and be effective doing, even at the mid-season point. It says after Shurmur took over play calling duties late last season, Colorado still ran Sean Lewis's system. So I got ahead of myself there. The article spells it out. It says passing wise, Colorado will likely lean on the short game while taking the occasional shot downfield. So this is very interesting here. And there's this conversation about Shedeur. He is QB1 and he is the number one quarterback in the country. But does he have the arm strength, right? That's one of the things. Now, he has the accuracy purely, right? He's one of the most accurate passers that I've ever seen play college football. And that was on display multiple times during the year, but none more evident than when they played TCU. In addition to being accurate, he's clutch. So he doesn't get rattled. right? Which is what you want in your QB1 because they're going to be placed in difficult situations. And there have been multiple interviews with Shurmur about lessons learned from last year. And one of the things is like he expressed how his game has changed because this is one of the first losing teams he's ever been on. And like they say, you learn more from losing than winning. But getting Shurmur to work the short game, right, with the occasional shot downfield to your big playmakers like Travis Hunter or Will Shepard or LaJohntay Wester or Jimmy Horn or Sam Hart, who I think is going to play heavy in this offense, are going to be keys to Shurmur's success in a Pat Shurmur offense. It says, as quarterback, Shurmur said on the DNVR Buffs podcast, big shout out to DNVR, man. I consume a lot of their content. They're excellent at what they do. And they've been the OGs of this, right? They were Buff fans before it was popular. So us coming along in the Coach Prime era, big shout out, big salute to DNVR Buffs podcast. Shurmur was clear about one of the struggles that he had in Sean Lewis's offense was option routes, where the wide receivers were responsible for reading the defense as well. And if they saw opportunity to break off a route or go deep, they had the option to do that. And I think in some situations, it's one of the reasons why Shurmur tended to hold on to the ball a little bit longer in that offensive scheme. It says we'll see fewer option routes, meaning CU wide receivers won't have as much freedom to change their routes based on the opposing defense. Another substantial change. So that's good, right? From a quarterback comfortability. And one of the things that Prime talks about all the time, and Shurmur and Pat, they talk about the relationship that's being formed between Shurmur and Pat, which is extremely important for QB development and performance in a particular offensive scheme. And so if they have that comfortability and Shurmur knows that with a Pat Shurmur offense, he's going to be playing the short to long game, he's already going to go into the game with a game plan that's going to be effective and trust between coach and player. It says another substantial change comes in the play action game. So I didn't really see a lot of play action in Colorado's offense last year. I saw a lot of feign to like a read option to the back and then a quick pull out and then a setup to throw the ball. But defenses weren't going for it because they knew we weren't going to run the ball. So now if we're focused on running the ball and we're focused on the short, quick routes, 3-step, 5-step drop with the occasional a long ball down the field, integrating play action, but a play action that is effective because the defense needs to respect your run game is going to be a change that it's going to be a welcome change that we're going to see this year from Colorado's offense. It says another substantial change came in the play action game. Expect max protection and 3-man routes off play action that should get receivers downfield. So this is going to be interesting. In a very loaded wide receiver room, if you're looking at max protection, and so I went back and I watched some Pat Shurmur film, there are multiple formations where he has 2 tight ends in the game. Multiple formations where he has a tight end and 2 offensive tackles in the game, like going really, really big. So showing the defense run heavy formations and then running play action passes out of those formations. So this should be pretty exciting in terms of wide receivers running wide open, particularly in crossing routes and rub routes. And we're going to talk about that in terms of Pat Shurmur's scheme, because you're going to be able to draw linebackers in, tempting them to come in and bite on the run, and then being able to pass right behind them or find open areas in the zone. And we're going to talk about how Pat Shurmur uses rub routes, play action, and other schemes to defeat man-to-man coverage. All right. So expect to see a lot more play action. I'm going to see how Shurmur sells the play action. I didn't really see him run a lot of play action, but play action is all about the quarterback selling it, right? When he drops back to hand the ball off, it has to look exactly like how he hands the ball off during a run play. So the defense really believes down, distance, and the execution of the play action is going to be critical. So I haven't seen much of that, being worked on in the well-off videos or the reach the people media videos, but that doesn't mean they're not working on it. Maybe we just don't get to see that side of the game. And just because Colorado gives us access, I know it is limited, right? These are not the entire practices. We're not getting all the angles. We're certainly not getting enough to really assess what's being worked on and what isn't. It's just a taste to keep you excited, keep you intrigued, and keep you bought into the storyline of the Colorado Buffaloes football season for 2024. And I have to say, those guys are doing an outstanding job. Shout out to Well Off. Shout out to Reach the People Media. Shout out to Uncle Neely and the pregame show. All of those folks keeping us informed. So expect max protection, 3-man route. So Sam Hart is going to be in the game a lot. And this is another thing, right? In that loaded wide receiver room, who's going to start? And when you have 3 wide receivers out there, we know Travis is going to play a big role. We know Will is going to play a big role. And there's going to be some conversations about who that slot receiver is with Wester and Jimmy Horn, who's going to be the full-time, who's going to be subbing in. And then in terms of how they're going to utilize Travis this year, or Marion Miller is going to play heavy as well. You know, and there are a lot of very good wide receivers. Terrell Timmons, a lot of people don't mention his name a lot, but I think he's really working himself into a major role this year. And one of the things I love that Shurmur said, I think it was during Big 12 Media Day, is that he's not really looking for players on the field. He's letting the defensive coverage dictate where the ball goes. And you saw that evidence last year, right? Zay Weaver, wide receiver number 1, almost 1,000 yards. Travis Hunter, even though he missed 3 games with an injury due to a dirty hit, I think he had over 700 yards receiving. Jimmy Horn, I think he had close to 700. Dylan Edwards, when he was being utilized, he got the ball. Caleb Mathis, even in the short stint when he came in the game, Shurmur threw him the ball. Marion Miller had that big game against USC. And so I feel like they have a lot of interchangeable parts. I hope that wide receiver room can coalesce. Everybody can play their role. And even some of the freshman wide receivers might get some play in games where Colorado's dominant and they can see the field as well. So you have Draylon Miller and you have Cam Michael coming off the bench that could make some impact, and C5 on the outside, really, really big body out there that can make some plays. All of these guys came to Colorado not to sit, but to play and have an impact. I think last season left bad taste in all of those players' mouths, whether they were on the team or they transferred to the team. They watched the journey and they're here to make a change. So finally, last but not least, I get around to the running game. It says, in the run game, Shurmur has traditionally attacked the edges using an outside zone running attack. In this attack, running backs must read their blocks to the outside or cut the ball inside if the lane presents itself. And when we get to the point where we're talking about Dallan Hayden, this is going to be important. I did a reaction video to some of his highlights, but I'm new to YouTube, didn't quite get the resolution and the speed of the screen recording right. So if you guys want to see a reaction video to highlights on this channel, go ahead and put it in the comments. We'll do more reactions. And then when the season comes around, I'm looking for collaborators where we could react to the highlights of game film. So if you guys know any other channels out there that might be interested or might be a good collaboration, let me know in the comments. All right, it says Colorado will almost certainly run the ball more next year, especially on first down, as this is a staple of Shurmur's attack. And they have the running back room this year to confidently do that. And now they've replaced the offensive line, a lot of major pieces. So they lost a lot of players from that offensive line room, but they brought in a lot of folks, including the number 1 left tackle or tackle in general in college, coming out of high school, entering college, Jordan Seaton. You have Tyler Brown, you have Justin Mayer, you have Hank Zelinskis, who is a constant in the middle. He was on the team last year and started a couple of games. You have Tyler Johnson as well. And there's a little bit of a battle in that line, not a little, a major battle coming up in fall practices on that offensive line with who's going to start in those guard positions between Tyler Johnson, Tyler Brown, and Justin Mayer. If you have any opinions on who the starting O-line will be, please let us know. And then you have the leader in the O-line room. He's been described as the alpha by a couple of people, I think Uncle Neely, and maybe even Coach Lodeholt, which is high praise coming from a former NFL defensive lineman, also played at Oklahoma, letting you know who his leader in his offensive line room is. Not only is he good, quick feet, fast, big, but he has the mindset. He's very aggressive. He's committed to this idea of protect two. And so most of that O-line was created to address the issues around protecting a quarterback. But I heard during the pregame interview with Uncle Neely and Coach Phil Lodeholt, he was teaching those guys that they're going to run the ball this year, and they need to be prepared not only to protect the quarterback, but to also run the ball. So next up, give it a like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on that notification so next time you can participate live with me when I go live on the channel. And yeah, man, I need your help to grow the channel. Hopefully this information is valuable to you. All right, next up, I'm going to stop there with this article. And then I'm going to take a look at the next article that I wanted to look at, which is, well, what is the anatomy of the Pat Shurmur offense? What is the actual run game going to look like? So that's next up. So let me go ahead and share this screen. And this article comes from the New York Giants website. And this is, I think, when he was coming in from the Vikings to take over the head coaching job for the New York Giants, they did basically an analysis of the offense that the Giant fans could expect when Pat Shurmur was calling plays. So this is from January 2018. Big shout out to John Schmelek or Schmelk. I hope I'm saying that right. Big shout out to you, John. I appreciate you using this as fair use for news and analysis. So here's a breakdown. It says, when you take a look at Pat Shurmur's offense in Minnesota this past season, you see a few staples. There are West Coast principles, but there were also some remnants of what Norv Turner, so legendary NFL coach, I remember him mostly from his time with the Redskins, employed in his scheme in 2016. The result is a varied offense that had success despite an early season change at quarterback. So the run game right out of the gate. Let's start where every good NFL offense starts, in the same for college games is the running game. According to stats, the Vikings had the 5th highest run percentage in the league this year. So for all of you who are Smash Mouth football fans and you're concerned about the run game over at Colorado, just know that when he was at the helm, with the Vikings, they ran the ball 47.5% of the time. So very, very balanced offense. Now, maybe they didn't have the quarterback talent at the time that Colorado does, so they had to lean on the run, but that's certainly a balanced offense if there ever was one. On 1st and 10 plays, the Vikings ran the ball 61% of the time. And when you have a running back room like we have, right, with Dallan Hayden, who we're going to focus on tonight, but Charlie Arfadal, Micah Welsh, Isaiah Agustave, and even Brandon Hood, and because Micah is a freshman and Brandon Hood is a freshman, you got a lot of guys who could carry the rock and who could run the ball. But you have some experience in Dallan Hayden in terms of playing at a big-time program and carrying the ball in big-time games, which I think was a problem for Colorado. Every game was a big game, like Shador says. Shador, I want to make sure I say his name right. Shador says, they're everybody's Super Bowl. So the lights are going to be very bright. And so you need somebody running the ball who's been under the bright lights before. And Dallan has from his time when he played as a freshman right out of the gate at The Ohio State University, which is basically running back university, right? They're more famous as being wide receiver university, but I mean, Heisman Trophy winners coming out of that Ohio State backfield, and they have a loaded backfield again this year. So one of the reasons probably why Dallan decided to take his talents to Colorado. So it says on these runs, according to Pro Football Focus, the Vikings ran outside zone 22.5% of the time, which was their second most used concept. Like most of the league, the Vikings ran inside zone as their predominant run scheme. So the type of back that you need for outside run zone scheme when you're running the ball is somebody who has great vision, because they're going to rely heavily on looking for the hole as the play moves to the outside, whether or not they're going to continue to the outside or cut it up inside. They need really, really quick feet and good decision making. So once you decide which direction you're going to go in, you need to go in that direction. You need to go hard because the hole eventually is going to close. You need kind of that put one foot in the ground, an explosive runner. Dallan Hayden demonstrated a lot of that in his freshman year. I think Isaiah Agustave is another guy who's tall. I think he's 6'2", a little over 200 pounds. Probably by the time the season comes, he would have bulked up in Coach Mo's program. But he's going to be another guy that could run in kind of like a two-headed monster situation. And Pat Shurmur plays a lot of 22, where he might end up with two backs in the field, and we're going to see some of that as we roll through this. So by comparison, the Giants ran outside zone just 10% of the time. And this is, again, he's coming over from the Vikings to the Giants. So he's bringing more of a run game to the Giants. They design I'm not sure if that's it's not a traditional stretch zone play, but instead more of an off tackle with the same zone principles. So really, so you have your center here, you have your guard, your tackle. And again, I talked about this earlier. This is an all extra offensive lineman. So one of the things that we're gonna see is potentially all the offensive linemen I named, but then like an extra one on the field as well. So there might be situations where you have two guards or two tackles next to each other. Like, for example, you might have and I think, Jordan Seaton is going to benefit from some of this, having a more experienced guy by his side when they're running some of these plays. So you might have on the left side, you might have Jordan Seaton, Tyler Brown, and Tyler Johnson in certain run sets. And what I said about this was that you have two backs in the backfield, right? Old school, right? A fullback and a running back. But I could see this even run out of a split back formation where you might have Hayden and Welsh, or Agustave and Welsh, or Arfidal and Hayden. So again, he has a lot of options. And another thing I know is going to happen is that Sam Hart, right? Bringing in a blocking tight end from Ohio State. Hayden and Sam Hart had at least 1 year overlapping. Hayden did redshirt last year, and I think Sam Hart was a freshman last year for OSU. So you can see the alignment here. They have the extra offensive lineman in the game looking to run the ball. So the play starts, the quarterback hikes the ball, hands it off, right? So you got everybody moving to the outside, right? The action is to the outside. Now, what the running back is using is their vision, patience, and looking for the hole. All right. So our running back has two options: continue to the outside or cut it up in the inside. So you could see this looks like an offensive lineman here moving this linebacker out of the way, right? Just really getting this hole open here. And you see 74, he might pick up this blindside block here on this offensive lineman and really open the hole for the running back. But let's see what happens. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. He gets the blindside block on this offensive lineman. The running back sees the hole, follows his blockers, and now he has two options again. He could cut this way, and the safety is closing up that hole, or cut up the seam and go down the field. Let's see where he does. He cuts up the seam, goes down the field. Safety still makes the tackle, is an assisted tackle, but what is that? He gets the ball. You can't really see the yardage there, but that could have maybe been at the 20 and he ends up at the 10. So that's a 10-yard run. I'm not sure if that's first down or not, but that just shows the outside zone run that we're going to see a lot of in a Coach Shurmur offense. Next, by establishing the run 40% of the time or 35% of the time or whatever it ends up being, you get the defense's respect. And then what you get to run off of that in the pass game is play action. So the second play we'll look at features something Shurmur loves to do: play action passes, especially effective for the Vikings given their high percentage of run plays. Again, you have to run the ball to run play action plays. So the Case Keenum is the quarterback. So I'm not going to throw any dirt on Case's name, but Colorado might have a different situation in terms of the quarterback room. So here's the formation. Looks like a tight end here, 3 wide receiver. We talked a lot about that. So this is where the battle is going to be, in my opinion. I'm thinking to start the season out, this might be Travis here. This is going to be Western. This is going to be Shepard. I think Shepard's generally going to be out there by himself because he's a bigger wide receiver going one-on-one. It looks like they're playing man coverage here with this guy off. So, oh no, this is an extra lineman. So there's no tight end in the game, but this is an extra lineman? I'm not sure. It looks like it. So again, Case Keenum's play action, it looks like he's going to hand off the ball. right? All indications. So the linebackers now, following that 10-yard run and multiple runs during this game, are going to have to respect this play action right here. Okay, so he buys himself some time. Great protection here in the pocket. Is Phil Lodeholt on this team? I'm not sure. Chat, let me know if you think Phil Lodeholt is in this picture. But clean pocket right here. He can step up and deliver the ball. So he has routes coming across. So this is a crossing route coming this way. He has a second. So this is more of a slant just running across the field. This is probably a drag. And this is a post coming this way. So he gets a chance to read. You got three guys, right, targeting this person. He has a safety over the top with the deep man on the post with some help underneath. The guy who's open, right, and he could throw to the outside. So either he's going to catch it or it's going to be incomplete. Is this dig route coming across the field? So he throws the ball, perfect placement over the shoulder. DB cannot defend that. It's a catch. And it's a big play. Again, when teams are running man-to-man against Colorado, you're going to see a lot of rub routes from Pat Shurmur. So it looks like we have 4 wide receivers here. So again, this is going to be a deadly combination for Colorado. Still a running back in the backfield, so they have to respect the run here, especially in a team that runs the ball so heavily. But I think maybe you might see a formation where this is maybe Travis Hunter in the slot, Wester to the outside, Jimmy Horn to the inside, and Will Shepherd to the outside. And basically, they're just trying to create enough chaos with all these crossing routes to have one of these wide receivers run open. Not necessarily set a pick, because that, you're going to get a flag on that. But this guy had to play off the ball, so he didn't get picked off early in the play. So now when you see him in this next frame, he's trying to get back to his man coverage here with this guy running across the field, right? Ball gets delivered right in the opening by the quarterback. He catches the ball. Now he could turn upfield. Imagine a Travis in this situation, right? Or imagine even shiftier as a Wester. With this much running room, Colorado should be a problem. So that's just a quick breakdown. Let me know what you think in the chat about that breakdown of Pat Shurmur and how he might approach the offense. Go ahead and hit that replay gang in the chat if you're watching this in the replay. And then please like, subscribe, share, turn on the notification. More content like this is coming. We're on the road to 50 subscribers. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel so I could drop the next live stream coming at you soon. All right, so let's talk about Dallan Hayden, the guy who I believe, Charlie Offerdahl is going to have something to say about that. Prime has already said that Charlie Offerdahl is RB1. Let me know in the chat if you think by season start, August 29th against North Dakota State, whether Charlie Offerdahl is going to be RB1. But Dallan Hayden, he's a redshirt sophomore because he played his freshman year, redshirted his sophomore year. So he might be a redshirt sophomore. Correct me in the chat if I'm saying that incorrectly. So let's look at Dallan Hayden and his statistics from his 2022 season when he saw the most action. So I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. So let's look at his career stats right now. So highly touted out of high school. I think he's out of Memphis, Tennessee. And let's look at 2022, right? Played for the Buckeyes, 111 carries, 553 yards. He averaged 5 yards a carry. This is outstanding for a running back. 5 yards a carry for a running back is outstanding. 5 touchdowns, so he knows how to find the end zone. And his long was 45 yards. So I don't think he's necessarily a game breaker or has game-breaking speed, but I know he can break a long run. When I was watching his highlights, he had a long run. So he has some finishing speed, but he's not the quickest guy on the field. He's more of a patient, like we talked about, that's going to be necessary. Reads his blocks really well, follows his blocks really well. He's very decisive, and he can put a foot in the ground and go. So we're going to need something like that, or a player with those attributes running the ball for Colorado. 2023 was his redshirt season. I think he maybe played in 4 games. But again, whenever he touches the rock, he's going to lean forward, right? 5.8 yards. So that's not a bad average there for a running back. Actually, that is very, very good. But I think this year he was playing behind Travion Henderson and Williams. I can't think of his first name. And so I think Ryan Day decided early in the season to go ahead and redshirt him. And this year, I think he would have been sharing the responsibilities with Travion again, but they added Judkins from Ole Miss. And I think Dallan was like, nah, man, I'm going to go somewhere where I can compete for that RB1 and be on the field because I know he's trying to go to the league, right? And I think this is a critical season if that's where he wants to go. Whether he attempts to go to the league this year or next year, he still has 2 seasons to play. He still has time. But I think he wanted to get on the field and show what he could do. And I was watching a short of him. I think it was Ohio State Media Day from 2023, and they were asking him, does he think he's going to be able to earn a roster spot with that loaded running back room? And what he said was, yes, he believed so. And that's because he's been working on his pass blocking, which is what's going to be important for that every down back, right? You can't just depend on the lineman. Sometimes there's a mismatch when they're bringing the blitz, and you need that running back in the backfield who can block. He said he's been working on his pass blocking as well as catching the ball out of the backfield. So there were a couple of highlights there where he's shown catching the ball out of the backfield. They really didn't utilize him very much as a pass catcher. Now, he had C.J. Stroud as his quarterback in 2022, a guy who's absolutely killing it in the NFL, or killed it in the NFL in his rookie season. And I'm sure he's going to have another big year with the Texans. C.J. Stroud's football IQ is absolutely off the charts. So looking at his receiving for 2022, 4 receptions, 23 yards. Now, this is going to be a big hole to fill with the Dylan Edwards transfer. A running back who can catch the ball out of the backfield and make plays, right? Well, we saw that in the TCU game. That was the only real time that Dylan had a chance to show that off. And really looking forward to what we're going to see from Dallan Hayden coming out of the backfield, catching the ball and making plays. Let's see. Okay. So these are his stats, right? And those are some of the things that he's going to be working on. And so he redshirted in 2023. He's now with the Colorado Buffaloes, working out in the weight room. One of the things I'm going to do a live stream on pretty soon is about the Colorado Buffaloes running back room, and why I believe that running back room is one of the most slept on rooms on the Colorado Buffalo team ahead of the 2024 season. All right, y'all, this is my very first live stream. Hopefully you guys had a wonderful time. Let me know what you think about Dallan Hayden and whether or not he has the ability, the potential. I know the folks who play the EA Sports game says he's absolutely unstoppable. And if he translates that into real life, those attributes, he's going to be a big-time player for the Colorado Buffaloes football. They absolutely need him and multiple running backs to have big years this year in order to be competitive in the Big 12 and hopefully win the Big 12 championship and go to those college football playoffs. All right, folks, this is the first live of Common Sense Buffs. If you haven't yet, go ahead and like. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe. If you haven't yet, go ahead and comment and, of course, share so we can get up to our 50 subscriber mark. That's the first big milestone. I need your help getting there. Hopefully this information has been of value. Looking forward to the next one. Until next time, Sko Buffs.